What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and it is Nuff of the Week time. And I'm going to give you a bit of a peek behind the curtain as to what this week has looked like when it comes to Nuff, because there's been a few contenders, and it's been kind of hard narrowing it down to exactly who is going to cop the clip from me. Firstly, the week began with the AFL, and its very unusual response to the Adam Kingsley and Fly McRae moment during the Collingwood and GWS game last week, where the hypocrisy between this circumstance and also not even hypocrisy, but the double standards between this response and the Ken Hinkley scenario of last year couldn't be more apparent, with the two affected this time getting a slap on the wrist. Then there is the Carlton game against Richmond and how badly they bungled that particular match. They went from being up considerably to pissing it all away, and made themselves into a laughingstock, and potentially with the first game of the real season from round one onwards, potentially created the biggest upset loss all year in the very first match of the year. Good stuff, guys. You're onto a winner. Then I thought about Port and how they're supposed to be a bit of a finals fancy, and how much they blew it against the Pies, a team who'd themselves been pantsed by 52 points the week before. And then I landed on the AFL again. I was cycled back to the AFL because we did post-game live after Geelong beat Freo yesterday, and a very vocal South Australian jumped into the call, Lucas, who we love at the Hoops Crew. He's always got a lot to say, both good and bad, about all things Geelong. But he opened the call by talking all about the South Australian Cricket Association going to battle with the AFL and the AFL's horrific decision-making there and how bad it was. Now, I did have to yell and scream and shout and try and cover up the abusive language that he dropped in the car whilst my son was there, and it was being projected through my speakers throughout the entire car. Thanks, Lucas. But he made a really good point. And we're going to talk about that as the Nuff of the Week this week. But first, a word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for all that you do in supporting the Hoops Crew. Now, let's get into the story at hand here. And this headline reads pretty simply: a disappointed Cricket Australia responds to Sheffield Shield shock as AFL blocks Adelaide Oval from hosting the final. Now, for a bit of background here, and I'm sure the article talks a little bit about it, but the grand final to the cricket, the Sheffield Shield, was due to take place in between Port's match against Richmond on Saturday, March 22nd, and then the Adelaide game the next weekend. And, kind of midweek. And there was a lot of conjecture around this because the feeling was that the ground staff won't be able to get the ground deconstructed from AFL standards, ready for the Sheffield Shield final, and then back into an AFL standard ground within those confines. Now, the team at Adelaide Oval didn't feel that was the case. They felt like they were going to be fine. And then as the week kind of played out and the controversy and the discussion kind of continued, all of a sudden the MCC's team gets involved, the MCG team, and they start talking about how we don't think we'd be able to get it done. Now, the thing that bothers me about comments like this in the first place are that what would the MCG's team know about the circumstances at Adelaide? They can only speak to their own. And if they were really, really upfront about that, if they were very clear and transparent about that, that'd be fine. They are different grounds. They are different conditions. The size and scope of the MCG, the nature of the grass, all of those sorts of things, different. And so that's fine if they didn't feel like they could do it. If the SCG's team couldn't do it, if the Gabbers team couldn't do it, if it couldn't be done over at Optus Stadium in Adelaide, in WA, All of this is fine. If the GMHBA team couldn't get it up and running, that's fine. But the Adelaide team believed they could. And they would have known the time constraints. They would have known what they were working up against. And they felt that they could do it. But what did the AFL do? Well, they listened to the wrong people. And they made the decision, as much as I love football, I also have a great love of cricket. As much as I love football, they listened to the wrong people and decided to veto the whole thing. Now, why did the AFL do this? Why could they do this? They do have the right to be able to do it in the first place. The AFL does have the ability to block it because they have booked everything out and they've got their standards and it is football season. And it's like, I get it. I get that they've got the ability to do this. The question is, should they have done it? And for me, the answer is obviously no. If the ground team believe they could get the job done, then you trust them. Have they ever let you down? No, I can't think of a time where there's been people questioning the condition of an Adelaide ground. And based on that history, you back the team in. Instead, you've now got the two biggest codes in Australia, the Australian Football League and Cricket Australia, going head-to-head here. And Cricket Australia is disappointed, and understandably so, as is the Premier, Peter Malinowskis, who pushed for the game to be in Adelaide and believed that this could work. So as we scroll through, however, the AFL and Crows expressed concerns about player safety. The venue's outfield would need to be cut for the Sheffield Shield, and the grass wouldn't grow back to the league's usual standard before the Adelaide match. So it's a millimetre shorter than usual. Jam it. Following days of negotiation between South Australian Government, Cricket Australia, the South Australian Cricket Association and the AFL, which has the rights to the ground from March 15 each year, it was deemed to be too difficult to transform Adelaide Oval with such a short turnaround. There's a post here from Adelaide Oval. Our team relished the opportunity to be involved and threw everything at the chance to help make a Shield final at Adelaide Oval happen. We'd like to thank all parties for the part they played in these negotiations. But most importantly, we'd like to wish South Australia the best of luck in the final at Karen Rolton Oval. I don't even know where that oval is, but I'm not a South Australian local, so that's fine. I hope it's a really fantastic atmosphere that gets created. I hope the circumstances cause more cricket fans in South Australia to come out to that Sheffield Shield final, to attend as much of it as possible, to support their team, and hopefully they win. After extensive consultation with a range of AFL stakeholders, the AFL has determined that the risks involved in turning around the Adelaide Oval in time to meet the safety and playing standards required for AFL matches are not acceptable, a league spokesman said. Maybe that's the case, but are they going to get really close? Probably. And that should be enough. Back the team in. Show some respect. Don't be so selfish. And that's where it's all kind of fallen apart in this particular case. The tight turnaround required to remove the cricket pitch and restore the surface of football, including the Adelaide home game on Sunday, into the demands of gather round where multiple matches will be played over a short period, meant the AFL felt it couldn't be satisfied. This challenge was further heightened by the potential impact of any adverse weather conditions. The AFL has explored all reasonable options to make this work, but after extensive discussions and advice this week, was not satisfied that the planned arrangements met the appropriate risk profile for a safe surface. The AFL sincerely thanks Premier Peter Malinowskis, the SACA and South Australian community for their understanding and acknowledges their significant passion for seeing this match played at Adelaide Oval. Yet we're going to ignore it. And as we've already spoken about, Karen Rolton Oval will be the new final. This is now what Cricket Australia had to say. We're disappointed South Australia has been prevented from hosting the Sheffield Shield final at Adelaide Oval, CA Chief Todd Greenberg said in a statement. The Sheffield Shield final is a significant event for Australia's national sport, and we believe Adelaide Oval would have been the most appropriate venue. I would like to thank Peter Malinowskis for his advocacy in this matter and his passionate support of cricket and the South Australian Cricket Association, which made an extremely compelling case to host the final at Adelaide Oval. March is a very important month for cricket, including the Sheffield Shield and the Premier and Club cricket finals. We'll continue to work collaboratively at all levels to ensure cricket gains and provides appropriate access to shared venues across the country. I mean, look, that summarises the whole thing. We've now got lots of people kind of making the different statements. South Australia, formerly known as the Redbacks, has not won a Sheffield Shield final since 1996, and I sincerely hope that they get the job done in that week. It's still a little way to go. It's quite a wait actually for that final. It's kind of crazy how long we have to wait. But I am, as a Victorian, really disappointed for the South Australian cricket fans out there. And I think there was a way that this could absolutely have worked for all parties. And I don't know if the AFL has really done everything they can, exhausted every outlet to ensure that the ground meets the standards they require, or adjust the standards mildly in order for the game to run. I know AFL is the biggest game in the country in this time of the year. Cricket is also massive, and one goes hand in hand with the other. In a lot of cases, we wouldn't have the AFL grounds that we have had it not been for cricket. And I think we need to show the game of cricket a bit more respect in this circumstance. That's where I'm going to wrap things up for this entry of Nuff of the Week. The AFL cops it this time. Could have copped it for multiple reasons, deservedly so. Thank you, everyone, for having tuned in and checked this one out. Check out all of the awesome Hoops Crew content, from my reaction video to the Geelong and Fremantle game to post-game live. The Paul James Show goes live on Sunday nights as well, where we'll premiere this episode. You are seeing it slightly late, so consider checking out the Paul James Show going forward. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.